Hey you guys, Bubba Sawyer here, coming at you with a video. People's been messaging me, texting me, emailing me, wanting to know what happened the other night and want to know if I'm okay. And short answer is yes, I'm fine. But the other night, it was around about 10:30, about that time at night. I was in the kitchen getting me some sweet tea, and my weenie dog started growling and barking. And he normally don't growl and bark like that. And I looked out the kitchen window. I seen somebody backing up behind my shed. So I went and opened the screen door and was listening. And I heard somebody sound like they was arguing and yelling. And so I grabbed a shotgun and I went out there with the spotlight. And this lady come running down the driveway. She's like, "We need you to help us." Said this woman up here is trying to leave, and I thought they was a wreck. So I went up there after I verified, that there wasn't nobody trying to steal anything or whatever. And they're like, "We followed this woman for the past 3 to 5 miles, and she was hitting a guardrail and driving through the ditch and everything else. She was in a Nissan. I forget what they're called, but it was an SUV. But anyway, the woman's eyes were rolling back in her head and stuff. You couldn't understand half of the stuff she said. And I'm not disclosing the location, but it was on my property beside of it there on the road. So they had her stopped in the road, and they said before I came out, she tried to leave on them. There was 2 sets of 2 vehicles. Was a work truck with 2 coal miners in it, and the other was a Jeep with a guy and girl in it. So they boxed her in and got her stopped. So she backs up and puts it in drive and pulls out and bumps the side of my hip and almost runs over me. So they got her stopped again, and she tried to go again, and she seen I had a shotgun, and they said, "You better stop." So they had done called the law, and my mom had called the cops too, because she didn't know what was going on. She heard them yelling and going on. She said she thought they was beating me up or something. So the law came, the local sheriff, and they sat there probably 30 minutes and didn't do nothing. They walked up to the car, and they're like, "Okay," and obviously they seen and knew who it was. So they called for the state police to not to come. But the state police, for some reason, came anyway, and they ran the tags and verified who it was. And it was the wife of the husband who is a judge executive over my town. So needless to say, stuff got swept under the rug, and I was told that nothing was going to be... Well, I was told that there was nothing was going to be done about it. And I'm not saying who told me. And they said that if you tried to sue on it, there's really nothing you could do, because technically I didn't get hurt. And there's this coming talking about they might try to get me for slander. Slandering their name. Well, obviously they're slandering their own name if they're getting out and doing that stuff. And they said it excludes alcohol in the police report, but it did say she had a white substance under her nose, and something about her eyes was red, and something about her eyes was shifting, like when you're drunk or you're on something, your eyes twitch. That state police got her out of the car to do the sobriety test, and she couldn't stand up. None of that. So the county said that they technically didn't see her driving, but yet she was sitting in a vehicle with her foot on the brake, with the car running in gear, with the keys in the ignition, and she was the only one in the car. So they had a tow truck come get the car, and I was told that she was in there for no more than 15 to 20 minutes, and they let her go. And they took a letter off the end of her name and had her listed as a male, so nobody could find it. And I messaged the judge executive and told him what happened. And I told him he needed to make it right, and then he blocked me. So I got on my old Facebook that's got pictures of my grandpa and stuff on it. I messaged him again and let him know I was going to try to do something about it, and I'm going to keep letting people know. There's other people who's letting people know. I could have been seriously injured. I mean, if she would have ran over me, it could have killed me or anything. And people like that get special treatment just because their husbands or their wives or this and that over the town, or they're on part of the committee and all this stuff. I think that they should be treated the same. And I think it's funny, a week later, my dad gets out of the hospital and he overworked his arm and he got it bleeding, so we had to take him to the emergency room, and I get stopped. And I wasn't even driving. I got pulled out of the vehicle. And they tried to say, oh, you ain't got tags and insurance. And I showed them the papers, and they radioed it in. They couldn't get me on nothing. So they had to let me go. The same cops that came to the accident the other night when the woman was running over stuff. But anyway, it was the deputies. It wasn't the state police. But I just find that funny. They try to say, oh, we thought we'd do a traffic stop on your car, and try to say that we didn't use turn signals, or try to say this. You know, they just try to come up with something. And they had to let me go. And my dad told him, he's like, we got to go to the emergency room. My arm's bleeding pretty bad. And they're like, well, we got to deal with this first, okay? You know, and then they try to tell my dad to stay out of it. And that my dad didn't have nothing to do with it. And my dad obviously did have something to do with what was going on, because his arm was bleeding. And they called me out of the back seat. And then what I find funny is they asked me if I had anything illegal on me that I shouldn't have. And then they asked me if I had a gun in the vehicle, which Kentucky now, you ain't got to have a concealed carry card anymore. But I just find it funny that them same deputies stopped me, and they trying to find something on me, because I was told that the judge executive's pissed because I keep talking about this, and I'm not going to let it go, because if I would have got ran over, it wouldn't have mattered. It would have just got swept under the rug. And then here would have been my family and my YouTube community wondering what happened to me. And if that was me that was in her position, I would be sitting in jail right now, and I'd be having a court date and all that stuff. But people like that get away with murder, basically. I mean, they could have got it for a DUI, but they got her for a PI, public intoxicated, which she was driving because she was the only one in the car. But they said they didn't want to have nothing to do with it because of political status of her husband, which is bullshit. And I don't care if he sees this video, and I don't care if somebody shows it to him, because I have First Amendment rights. You know, I'm not just going out of the way just to slander somebody's name just for the hell of it. No, I could have been killed the other night. That was very dangerous. And there's kids in the evening that ride their bicycles and stuff after school and whatever. And I just think, you know, something needs to be done. You know, her license needs to be suspended, something, because mine are suspended over they tried to say I didn't go to the DMV when I did. They told me to come back. They called me and let me know when to come back. And I had to drive 2 or 3 towns over to a DMV. And my license is suspended. And somebody like that gets away with everything. So I figured I'd clear that up with you guys. And there's a auditor, journalist, whatever. He done a video on it. I'll post links about it in the community tab. But yeah, I'm fine, guys. Thanks for watching.